April 11, 1945. The war in Europe is in its death throes. When the 6th Armored Division of the U.S. Third Army rolled into the region of Thuringia, they expected resistance. They expected ambushes. They expected the Wehrmacht. What they found instead was a silence so heavy it felt like it could crush a tank. They found a gate with a cynical inscription, Jedem das Seine, to each his own. And behind that gate, they found the end of the world. This was Buchenwald. General George S. Patton, a man known as Old Blood and Guts, a warrior who had seen the carnage of World War I and the brutality of Sicily, walked through those gates a few days later. This was a man who famously slapped a soldier for shell shock, a man who didn't flinch. But when Patton saw the wood-burning ovens, when he saw the cordwood stacks of human bodies, the color drained from his face. He walked behind a barracks and vomited. But his sickness quickly turned to a cold, hard rage, because just 5 miles away, a mere morning stroll, sat the city of Weimar. The citizens there were living their lives. They were drinking coffee. They were playing Mozart. And when asked about the hell on the hill, they all said the same thing. Wir haben es nicht gewusst. We did not know. Patton didn't believe them. And he decided then and there to teach them a lesson they would take to their graves. To understand the magnitude of this event, you have to understand Weimar. This wasn't just some random German town. Weimar was the Athens of Germany. It was the spiritual home of the Enlightenment. This was where Johann Wolfgang von Goethe wrote Faust. It was where the Bauhaus movement revolutionized modern art. It was a city of intellectuals, poets, and musicians. A city that prided itself on culture, refinement, civilization. The citizens of Weimar viewed themselves as the pinnacle of European sophistication. They were the good Germans. But for 8 years, a dark twin had been growing on the Ettersberg hill overlooking their beautiful valley. Buchenwald wasn't a secret military base hidden underground. It was an industrial complex. The SS officers who ran the camp didn't live in isolation. They lived in charming suburban villas with manicured lawns. Their wives, women like Ilse Koch, shopped in Weimar's boutiques. They bought vegetables at the same markets as the professors' wives. The camp had a zoo for the SS families, where bears and monkeys played just yards away from where prisoners were being tortured. More damningly, the economy of the camp and the city were intertwined. Prisoners were slave labor for local factories. They fixed the roads the citizens drove on. The smoke from the crematorium didn't magically disappear. It drifted down into the valley, coating the window sills of the opera house in a fine gray dust. To say we didn't know required a level of psychological gymnastics that Patton found unforgivable. It was a willful blindness, a choice to look away. April 16, 1945. A crisp, sunny morning, Patton issues the order. He doesn't want the dregs of society. He wants the elite. American military police flood the city. They bypass the working-class districts and head straight for the mansions and the manicured avenues. They knock on the doors of the mayor, the doctors, the lawyers, the shop owners. Rouse, the soldiers say, "Get out." General Patton invites you for a walk. The scene is surreal. The Germans come out dressed for a social occasion. The men are in three-piece suits, fedoras, and polished shoes. The women wear furs, silk scarves, and heels. They are chatting, smiling. Some are indignant. "I am a bank manager. You can't treat me like this." But many seem to think this is some sort of American propaganda film or perhaps a lecture on democracy. They form a column 1,000 strong, a parade of the rich and famous. Flanking them are American GIs, their faces grim, their M1 Garands ready. The contrast is jarring. The dusty, battle-hardened soldiers and the pristine, perfumed aristocracy. They begin the 5-mile march up the hill. The mood is light. There is laughter. They are hiking through the forest where Goethe used to walk to find inspiration. They treat the Americans with a mix of curiosity and condescension, but as they ascend the Ettersberg, the wind shifts. It starts with the smell. If you have never smelled a battlefield or a mass grave, you cannot imagine it. It is not just the smell of decay. It is sweet, cloying, and greasy. It sticks to the back of your throat. It tastes like copper. The laughter in the column dies out. The chatter stops. The women pull out perfumed handkerchiefs and press them to their noses. The men adjust their collars, looking uneasy. The Americans shout, "Keep moving, vorwärts." They reach the main gate. The heavy iron doors swing open. The 1,000 citizens of Weimar step out of their world of denial and into the reality they helped create. The first thing they see are the survivors. Thousands of prisoners, liberated but too weak to leave, line the barbed wire fences. These are not men anymore. They are skeletons wrapped in translucent skin. Their eyes, huge, sunken, and burning, fixate on the fur coats and the well-fed bellies of the visitors. There is no shouting. The prisoners don't throw rocks, they just stare. It is a silent judgment that screams louder than any accusation. The citizens try to look away, but the MPs won't let them. "Look," the soldiers command, grabbing the chins of those who turn their heads. "Look at your neighbors." The tour is methodically planned to dismantle every excuse. First, the crematorium. Outside stands a trailer, the kind used for hauling farm equipment, but it isn't filled with hay. It is heaped high with naked, emaciated corpses. Limbs are tangled in impossible angles. Jaws are frozen open in silent screams. The citizens stop. The reality hits them like a physical blow. A woman in the front row, wearing a pristine white coat, sees the face of a corpse near the top of the pile. She gasps, her knees buckle, and she faints into the mud. An MP steps over her. He doesn't help her up. "Stand up," he barks. "You have seen nothing yet." They are forced to walk past the ovens, still warm, still containing the charred remains of the morning's work. Next, the pathology lab. This was the domain of the SS doctors, men who had sworn the Hippocratic Oath and then used it to torture. On a display table, like trinkets at a flea market, are the trophies. 2 shrunken heads of Polish prisoners the size of fists, organs preserved in jars, and then the lampshades. The rumors were true. Ilse Koch, the bitch of Buchenwald, had a fascination with tattoos. If a prisoner had interesting ink, he was executed skinned, and his flesh was tanned to make lampshades, book covers, and gloves. The sophisticated citizens of Weimar, the lovers of Goethe and Beethoven, stare at a lampshade made of human skin. The veneer of civilization cracks completely. Men are vomiting in the corners. Women are sobbing hysterically, no longer out of fear, but out of a crushing, suffocating shame. An American officer, fluent in German, stands by the table. His voice is calm, which makes it even more terrifying. "You didn't know?" he asks, gesturing to the skin. "This was done in your name. This was done while you slept in your soft beds." In the barracks, the collision of 2 worlds reaches its peak. A well-dressed banker, clutching his hat, finds himself face-to-face with a survivor. The prisoner is a ghost, weighing perhaps 70 pounds, but he recognizes the man. He points a trembling finger. "I know you," the prisoner whispers. "I worked at the rail yard unloading your coal. You walked past me every day. You saw me starving. You kicked snow on me to clean your boots." The banker collapses. He falls to his knees in the filth of the barracks floor, weeping, begging for forgiveness that the prisoner cannot and will not give. This was Patton's genius. He didn't just want them to see the dead, he wanted them to see the living. He wanted to strip away the anonymity of the war. This wasn't Germany vs. America, this was you vs. him. The tour lasted 2 hours. It felt like a lifetime. When the citizens of Weimar walked back out through the iron gates, they were destroyed. The laughter was gone, the arrogance was gone, their shoes were covered in the mud of the camp. Their faces were streaked with tears and dust. They walked back down the hill in total silence. They returned to their beautiful, historic city, but the city had changed. The statues of the poets seemed to look down on them in judgment. The opera house looked like a tomb. That night, the sound of gunshots rang out in the villas of Weimar, not from combat, but from suicide. Several prominent citizens, unable to reconcile their self-image with the monsters they had seen in the mirror, took their own lives. They had realized that their culture had not saved them from barbarism, it had merely masked it. General Eisenhower, upon hearing of Patton's actions, didn't reprimand him, he doubled down. He ordered every American soldier in the area who hadn't been to the front lines to tour the camp. He cabled Washington and London, send the press, send the Congress, send the Parliament. Eisenhower wrote, "I made the visit deliberately in order to be in a position to give first-hand evidence of these things if ever, in the future, there develops a tendency to charge these allegations merely to propaganda." He knew that one day people would try to deny this happened. He knew people would say the Holocaust was a lie. Patton's forced march wasn't just a punishment, it was a preservation of truth. He forced the good Germans to become the unwilling archivists of their own crimes. Today, Buchenwald is a memorial. The wooden barracks are gone, but the gate remains. Jedem das Sein. The story of the Parade of Shame teaches us a brutal lesson that is still relevant today. Evil does not always look like a monster with fangs. Sometimes, evil wears a suit. Sometimes, evil listens to Mozart. And most often, evil is simply the choice to close your eyes and say, "I didn't know."